What's going on, baseball fans? How are we doing? So a little while ago, I asked the subscribers on this channel to submit their trade proposals, so let's go take a look at them. Before I get to the actual trades on this list, I wanted to cover a few of the trades that were submitted about Jose Ramirez going to the Blue Jays. Now, again, there were a few that were submitted to me. All three of them were a different combination of these players that were listed here, but it was around maybe like 3 or 4 of them, and it fell short of what Jose Ramirez is worth. As you see here, Jose Ramirez is worth $73.7 million on baseball trade values, and for good reason. One of the best players in the game, obviously a great stat line again last year, hit 266, 36 home runs, 103 RBIs, an on base of 355, a slugging of 538, also had 27 stolen bases as well, a baseball reference WAR of 6.7. But what makes his value so high is that he's under control for this year, next year, and he's also extremely cheap. He's on a 6-year, $36 million contract. I mean, there's a reason this guy is extremely valuable, and he's going to cost you a lot. So again, the trades that were submitted to me, they were coming around maybe like $40 to $50 million worth of value. That's just not going to get it done for someone like Jose Ramirez. Now, I came up with a couple of packages. If you wanted to go for quantity, you could do something like this. Kevin Biggio, Espinal, Jordan Groshans, Lourdes Gurriel Jr., Alejandro Kirk, and Nate Pearson. That's right around the ballpark. Maybe you could take out a prospect and the Guardians would be okay with that. I don't know. But if you're looking for quantity, this is probably, you're looking at a package around this. Or you could go big and you could go with a Gabriel Moreno, your top prospect, one of the top prospects in all of baseball. Maybe put him with a Nate Pearson, and this is a slight overpay, so maybe you don't have to put Pearson in this trade. Maybe you can put a lesser prospect, someone around maybe 3 to 5 million. But if you wanted to part with Gabriel Moreno, that could definitely get you Jose Ramirez. Now let's get to the list, and I have a couple of trades also involving Jose Ramirez, but this time he's going to the Seattle Mariners. The first trade was submitted by PLB with MLB News. He is suggesting Jose Ramirez to the Mariners, and going back to the Guardians, we would have one of the top pitching prospects in the game, George Kirby, also Kyle Lewis, Rookie of the Year from a couple of years ago, and starting pitcher Justin Dunn. These values, they line up. Jose Ramirez would be a great fit with the Seattle Mariners. He would slide right into third base. Abraham Toro, he can move around. Maybe Frazier, he can move out to left field. You could have Toro play some second, whatever it may be. But Jose Ramirez would be a welcome bat in this Seattle Mariners lineup. With this trade, though, I wonder if the Mariners, with Jose Ramirez, this is a guy that's probably going to get himself a decent contract in a couple of years, unless they can get him signed up to an extension. Would the Mariners want to part with someone like George Kirby? I mean, this is one of the top pitching prospects in the game. That would be, for me, that would be really hard to part with someone like that. That's a top of the rotation arm that could be with you, for the next 7 years. And who knows, maybe you can get him signed up for an extension down the road. That would be really tough for me personally to part with George Kirby. In the other Jose Ramirez trade, this one was submitted by Lee G. He is suggesting Jose Ramirez to the Mariners, and going back to the Guardians, Noelvi Marte, one of their top prospects, Brandon Williamson, one of their higher pitching prospects, a lefty, along with Dylan Moore, and another prospect, I believe that was Alberto Rodriguez, the number 21 prospect on MLB Pipeline. Again, it would be really tough, to part with one of these top prospects. In my opinion, if I were to part with one of them, I would rather part with a Noelvi Marte, to be completely honest. I mean, I feel like he definitely could be a really good player down the road, but man, I'm a sucker for pitching, and George Kirby, that could be a top of the rotation arm. So if I were to pick one of these trades, I mean, they're both pretty good. Definitely when you're looking at the values, they line up pretty well. I would probably be more willing to go with this trade if I were the Seattle Mariners, but I would imagine maybe the Guardians, they would want either of these. In the next trade, this one was submitted by Jordan Withers, and instead of the Mariners getting Jose Ramirez, they're going to be getting Matt Chapman in this deal from the A's, along with Chris Bassett. And going back to the A's would be one of their top pitching prospects, Matt Brash, another pitching prospect in Brandon Williamson, and Abraham Toro. I find this trade to be interesting. The values are right in line with each other. With Seattle, Matt Chapman would be a nice addition. Obviously, you're going to get great defense at third base. He's one of the best defensive players in the league. However, the batting average was a little low last year at 210. He had a 314 on base. So those definitely need to come up, and the slugging could definitely come up as well. If you take a look at his career OPS, 808 and 716 last year. He is coming off of hip surgery, so maybe one more year removed from that surgery will get him a little bit more in line with his career numbers. But he did still have 27 home runs last year and 72 RBIs. So, and of course, you're getting a great glove. And with Chris Bassett, hey, solid guy for the rotation. This would be your number 2 behind Robbie Ray. Had a 3.15 ERA over 27 starts last year, a 3.34 FIP, 9 strikeouts per 9, under a home run per 9. This would be a really nice addition for this Mariners rotation behind Robbie Ray. I feel like they need one more guy. Could Chris Bassett be that guy? I would imagine maybe the Mariners would want someone a little more under control. You do have some young guys coming up like George Kirby. We were talking about him earlier in the Jose Ramirez trade, but Matt Chapman, he would slide in perfectly at third base, especially with Toro going to the A's. Toro is a pre-arbitration player, so I would imagine the A's would be okay with adding a bat like him. Now, the real question is, would the Mariners want to part with Matt Brash, especially in the division? Would they want to have to potentially face someone like Matt Brash down the road? He has absolutely nasty stuff. He is the number 4 prospect on Baseball America right now. This guy has one of the most nasty sliders I have ever seen. Go look it up. It is just a Looney Tunes slider. He's got a big fastball. The control is, it's a little low at the moment. He has a 45 control on Baseball America, but man, that fastball and that slider, it's just nutty. He has a pretty decent changeup as well, and a curveball to go along with it. If he can improve the control, this guy's going to be top notch. So I wonder, would the Mariners want to give up someone like him and then have to face him down the road multiple times during the year? And then also someone like Brandon Williamson too. That could be a solid arm for the rotation down the road. I would imagine the Mariners probably would not want to part with these pitching prospects. Maybe they would want to go with a more quantity over quality, especially if it's going to be in the division. Hey, I do like this trade for the A's. For the Mariners, I don't think they would do it. In the next trade, submitted by Jason Johnson, we're sticking with the A's, but instead of the Mariners, we have the Rangers. Going to the Rangers, we have Matt Olson and Chris Bassett. And going back to the A's, we have a nice package of Nate Lowe and some prospects, Evan Carter, Justin Foscue, Glenn Otto, and Owen White. So if the Rangers were to acquire someone like Matt Olson, the most obvious piece to send back would be Nate Lowe. A first baseman, had a pretty decent year last year, some good on base numbers, and he's a pre-arbitration player, so that would fit perfectly with what the A's are trying to do as they're trying to clear payroll. But they would also be getting a good package of some prospects here. We have Carter, Foscue, Otto, and White. 3 of those guys are in their top 10. We have Foscue at number 6, White at number 7, and Carter at number 8. It's a pretty decent package, and I actually kind of like it, especially with the Rangers signing Semien and Seager. Someone like Foscue, I feel like he's expendable. He was their first-round pick from a couple of years ago. A couple of decent pitchers here with White. That's their top pitching prospect going back in this deal. I know the Rangers, they definitely could use some more pitching in that system, but if you're getting someone like Matt Olson, man, and you're getting Chris Bassett for a year, this is a trade I definitely could see happening. The only thing is, it is a minor overpay from the A's side. With the A's, they've liked quantity over quality in past trades, so I wonder if they would be okay with something like this, unless another team, just offered a better package. They are definitely on the right track here. Maybe you could swap out someone like Otto for a slightly better prospect, maybe get the values a little bit closer, but you're definitely in the ballpark here. I could definitely see something like this happening if the Rangers were to trade for Matt Olson. All right, let's get away from the American League West. Let's talk about a trade that was submitted by Jaden Hackett. Going to the Cardinals from the Orioles would be John Means, and going back to the Orioles would be Matthew Liberatore and Mason Wynn. As you can see with the values as of right now, this would be a moderate overpay from the Orioles. John Means currently has right around a $42 million value. John Means had some, he's had some pretty good numbers in his career so far. He's cheap, he's under control, so that's why it's going to cost you a little bit to get someone like John Means. On going back to the Orioles, it's an interesting package. Matthew Liberatore and Mason Wynn. Liberatore, this is a guy, one of the better pitching prospects in the game. Didn't quite take that step forward like people thought he was going to last year. But I still think he is a very talented pitching prospect. Taking a look at where he ranks currently, as of right now, he was higher on this list last year, but now he's at number 3, and now Jordan Walker has taken the number 1 spot on Baseball America. But with Matthew Liberatore, you're getting, if the Orioles were to do something like this, they're getting themselves a very nice pitching prospect. Like I said last year, his ERA was in the 4s. The okay amount of strikeouts, 123 over 125. The walks were low, so that's one good thing with Liberatore. You're going to get good control out of him. He's a very balanced pitcher, and that's why I think he has at least a ceiling of like a mid-rotation guy, someone that you can just count on that can give you some innings. With John Means, on the other hand, this could definitely be a nice addition for the St. Louis Cardinals rotation. They definitely battled some injuries last year. Remember, they had to go after Lester and J.A. Happ just to get some depth in that rotation to make it through the season. With John Means, 26 starts, a 3.62 ERA. Taking a look at the FIP, though, it was higher at 4.62. But you got to understand, this is a guy pitching in Baltimore. That's a hitter-friendly park. Maybe going somewhere like St. Louis, a little more friendly towards pitchers. That could definitely help him out. But I don't think I see this trade happening. There's also Mason Wynn here. I believe with Mason Wynn, he is their number 8 prospect right now. Remember, he was a two-way player, but now it looks like he's going to focus more on being a shortstop. So he's very unknown at the moment. Definitely an electric kind of a player, but not really quite sure what you're going to get out of him. With this trade overall, I just don't see the Cardinals doing it. I think they need to hang on to some prospects, especially, someone like Liberatore. With John Means, he was having some injuries last year. So with the Cardinals, their rotation on paper does look pretty good. There is definitely just question marks, though. Adding Steven Matz I thought was a nice addition, but, with Dakota Hudson, Miles Mikolas, these are guys where, they came back late in the season last year. Adam Wainwright's not getting any younger. Flaherty dealt with injuries last year, so could someone like John Means provide some nice depth for this rotation? Absolutely. I just don't know if I see this happening because I think the Cardinals need to hang on to their prospects. In the next trade submitted by Ben Myers, let's stick with the Cardinals, but let's get the Twins involved. Going to the Twins, we have Paul DeJong, and going back to the Cardinals, we have a couple of prospects, Gilberto Celestino and Nick Gordon. I definitely think this is a trade that could happen. Paul DeJong, if the Cardinals feel like they want to make some room for another bat, maybe someone like Kyle Schwarber, maybe even someone like Trevor Story. Could they do something like that? Possibly. Don't forget they have Edmundo Sosa as well. But I feel like if they wanted to make room on the roster for, an upgrade with a bat, Paul DeJong could be a guy that you part with. And with the Twins, you could find a way to work him in. If you go to the Twins, as of right now, you do have currently... We have Jorge Polanco at shortstop and Luis Arias at second. These are guys, they're versatile. They can move around. Paul DeJong, he could definitely slide in at short. With DeJong, a down season at the plate last year. Under 200 with his batting average. Under 300 with his on base. Under 400 with his slugging. He just stunk with the bat. Besides the home runs, he had 19 home runs. So that's not too bad. But with the glove... You're going to be getting a good glove with Paul DeJong, a 9.1 defense last year. Definitely one of the better defensive shortstops in the game. And going back to the Cardinals in this trade, we have Gilberto Celestino. He's their number 11 prospect on Fangraphs right now. More of an athletic kind of a guy. The bat has potential, hasn't quite come around yet. Not too much of a power guy. Taking a look at his numbers last year in AAA, hit 290, a 384 on base, a 443 slugging. And then with Nick Gordon, this was the 5th overall pick back in 2014. He's been in the minors for quite a while, but last year he really struggled in AAA in 2018. But last year, looking good, 282 average, a 338 on base, a 437 slugging. Definitely better than what he was doing. But, this is a guy, maybe he could be a good bench piece for you. I could definitely, see something like this happening. In the next trade, submitted by JM, we have the Astros and the Cubs. Going back to the Astros would be Wilson Contreras and Rowan Wick. Going back to the Cubs, we have Hunter Brown, Forrest Whitley, and CJ Stubbs. I think this is an interesting trade. The values look pretty good lining up. For the Astros, this would be an upgrade at catcher. Wilson Contreras definitely would be an upgrade with the bat. Martin Maldonado, not too much going on with the bat. Good defense from him, but that's why I feel like he's more of a backup kind of a guy. Good to have on your team, but not really a bat that you want in your lineup day to day. With Wilson Contreras, the batting average was a little low last year, but 21 home runs, a 340 on base, a 438 slugging. You're going to get some pretty good defense, a 3.2 defense from him last year. And then Rowan Wick, I think, would be a nice addition for the bullpen. They did just sign Hector Neris, but Rowan Wick, a 4.30 ERA, but a 3.17 FIP. He didn't pitch as much as you would want him to last year, only 23 innings. But overall, over 11 strikeouts per 9. The walks are a little high, over 5 walks per 9, but it may be a bigger sample size. You would have seen the walks come down. In 2020, he had 3 walks per 9, so that could be just a nice piece for the bullpen. But I would like Wilson Contreras in this lineup over someone like Martin Maldonado. Now, going back to the Cubs, very interesting package. Taking a look, Hunter Brown, that's their top pitching prospect. I wonder if the Astros, where they really need to start replenishing this farm. I mean, losing Hunter Brown would be tough. Forrest Whitley, I could see them parting with. He was once one of the top pitching prospects in the game. Started to really struggle a couple of years ago, and then just recently had to go get Tommy John. So I could see them being okay with parting with Forrest Whitley. Maybe a change of scenery would be good for him once he comes back from Tommy John. But man, for them to part with a Hunter Brown, that would be really tough. I mean, CJ Stubbs, he's basically just depth at this point, catching depth. So I don't think this would happen, because I just don't think the Astros, they're going to give up on Hunter Brown. In the next trade, submitted by Lame Duck, this is an interesting one. Going to the Marlins would be Cedric Mullins, and going back to the Orioles would be Max Meyer, Eliezer Hernandez, and Braxton Garrett. This is a really interesting idea of Cedric Mullins going to the Marlins. Now, this trade would not happen. This is automatically just rejected. It's not enough for someone like Cedric Mullins. It busted out last year. What a season that he had last year. Hit 291, a 360 on base, a 518 slugging, 30 homers. How many stolen bases? He had 30 stolen bases last year. This guy was just phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. It's going to take quite a bit. He's not a free agent until 2026. So that is why you are seeing such a high value for Cedric Mullins. This is not going to be nearly enough. But I think including someone like Max Meyer, that could be a start. The Marlins have a plethora of pitching. I wonder if they would be okay with parting with someone like Max Meyer. He did really good in the minors last year, but you're going to have to add something to this if you were to get this done. For the Marlins, I would love them to get Cedric Mullins. So, man, maybe throw in a little Khalil Watson here and you're on the right track. And now this is just a minor overpay. Maybe swap out, something like Garrett or Hernandez for someone of a little more value. And also Eliezer Hernandez too. This is a guy where, I'm just waiting for this guy to bust out. He almost reminds me of not a Pedro Martinez with the velocity, but he is not going to throw anywhere near as hard as Pedro, but he has just nasty stuff. His changeup is phenomenal. Eliezer Hernandez, I wonder if a change of scenery would do him some good too. I mean, this is a very interesting trade. The original one would not get it done. Maybe you got to throw in one more guy, Khalil Watson. I don't know if the Marlins would want to part with him, but hey, could this be good for the Marlins to get someone like Cedric Mullins? Absolutely. They could definitely use some more offense. I mean, they added Aviseo Garcia, so that was a nice start. Joey Wendell will be a nice addition. Jacob Stallings will be good. Some of these younger guys like Chisholm, they're going to probably take a step forward this coming year. Man, Cedric Mullins in this lineup, it would be awesome. If Cedric Mullins was in this lineup and they maybe added maybe a couple more pieces, ooh, watch out for the Marlins. In the next trade submitted by Baby Yoda is submitting trades, but going to the Angels would be Sonny Gray, and going back to the Reds would be Jordan Adams, Jamie Barria, and Luis Rengifo. This package is not going to get it done. It's not nearly enough going to the Reds. You're around $20 million worth of value apart. Sonny Gray, this is a guy that you can count on in your rotation. He's under control. He's not making a lot of money each year, and he's going to give you solid numbers. 26 starts last year, an ERA a little over 4, but taking a look at his FIP, a little under 4, so not too much of a difference right there. But with Sonny Gray, this is a guy that you can count on. He's going to give you innings, and to be honest, he's just going to make your rotation better. I do like me some Sonny Gray. And the Angels, they could always use some starting pitching. Believe it or not, they actually, they're starting to compile some pictures in here. Shohei Ohtani, obviously very good. Noah Syndergaard, how's he going to do? Is he going to bounce back from Tommy John? Well, Patrick Sandoval, bit of an underrated arm for next year. Look out for him. But don't forget, they also signed Michael Lorenzen, and they got guys like Jose Suarez, and but Jamie Barria would be going back in this trade. So essentially, Sonny Gray would be taking his spot on the roster. With this, I'm okay with it. With Barria, not a lot from him. 56 innings last year, a 4.61 ERA. If we actually go take a further look at him, the FIP was a 4.88, not a lot of strikeouts. So I don't know if the Reds would really want someone like him. If we're taking a look here at, the Angels, the Angels, they're trying to build that farm system. They got some pretty decent guys, and we'll talk about Jordan Adams here in a second, but go back to the draft this past year. They just drafted all pitchers in that draft. So they are trying to build that pitching depth in the farm system. Reed Detmers, they're definitely not parting with. Sam Bachman, I see them hanging on to. That's a power arm that I think could definitely be of use down the road. But with the Angels, I don't see them really having enough pitching to really send back. If you look at what they got here, taking a look at what the Angels could possibly send back to improve this package. You got someone like a Joe Adell. Maybe a change of scenery could be good for him. I could see the Reds maybe being interested in someone like Joe Adell. This was a top prospect at one point. Look how much he's fallen off. This guy had a value through the roof, and now it's only 19. So maybe you could take out someone like Rengifo, and you could throw in Adell. With Jordan Adams, he is pretty much all potential at this point. If you're looking at him, last year he only hit 217 in the minors with a 290 on base and a 310 slugging. What you're going to be getting with Jordan Adams right now is just athleticism. He has an 80 speed. He's good in the field, but the bat is really lagging. This package itself, it's lagging. It needs more. Maybe Joe Adell could do it, get the deal done. For Sonny Gray, if the Angels, they want to beef up that starting pitching more, they're going to have to add more than this. And for the last trade submitted by Mitchell Hopkins, going to the Dodgers would be Luis Castillo and Sonny Gray, and going back to the Reds would be Gavin Lux, Diego Cartaya, and a pitching prospect. So for the pitching prospect, I put Bobby Miller, and then as you can see here, with the values, you're looking at around $80 million going back to the Reds and $96.6 million going back to the Dodgers. Luis Castillo, the biggest value in this trade overall. This will be a huge trade, but Luis Castillo, $68 million worth of value. Taking a look at Luis Castillo, he got off to a bad start last year, a bad first month, but after that, he was very good. 33 starts overall, a 3.98 ERA, 192 strikeouts over those 187 innings, a 3.75 FIP. Under a home run per 9, that's very good. Right around 3 walks per 9 and 9 strikeouts per 9. Luis Castillo, high value because he's very good. Not going to be a free agent for a couple of years. He's cheap, so that's why it's going to cost a lot for him. Very interesting going back to the Reds. Diego Cartaya, I wonder if he is expendable. The Dodgers obviously have Will Smith. He's under control for a little while. So Diego Cartaya, maybe they could part with him in some kind of a trade for someone like Luis Castillo. That could definitely be something that you start with. Gavin Lux, I find very interesting. Former top prospect, but he's got off to a bit of a tough start in the major leagues. 102 games last year, hit 242. Only a 364 slugging, a 328 on base. Maybe a change of scenery would be good for Gavin Lux. And in this trade, I put Bobby Miller. as the pitching prospect. That's their top pitching prospect. Taking a look, Bobby Miller, 70 fastball, 50 slider, 60 curveball, 60 changeup, 50 control. So that would be a very nice pitching prospect to get. But taking a look here, as you can see, right around $16 million apart here. I think for the Dodgers, I think we could just do a trade of Luis Castillo. So let's take out Sonny Gray, and taking a look here now, with the Dodgers, they only have to give up $68 million. So why don't we take out Bobby Miller? You're already giving up Diego Cartaya. That's your top prospect. So let's take out Bobby Miller, and let's take a look here. If we take a look at some other guys, maybe you could put someone like Ryan Pepio. Taking a look, let's put in Pepio. That's a $13.5 million value. And then you're right around, with equal value here. 71 million going back to the Reds, 68 million going for the Dodgers. I could definitely see a team like the Dodgers getting someone like Luis Castillo if the Reds want to part with him. I could definitely see it. I think the Dodgers, they are so good with their farm system that they could get a lot of trades done. And especially with someone like Cartaya, where Will Smith, you already have him for how many years now? I mean, I don't think he's a free agent until 2026, something like right around that time. I mean, good grief, the Dodgers could get a lot of trades done. Luis Castillo would be fantastic. You just lost Max Scherzer. Trevor Bauer, I think he's going to come back at some point, maybe after a month or two. We'll have to see what happens with that. But man, if you added Luis Castillo to this rotation, you would then have a rotation of Walker Buehler, Julio Urias, Luis Castillo, and then you got guys like Gonsolin, Heaney, and Price after him. And then Bauer comes back. Whoa, what a 1 through 4 that would be. That would be insane. I like, the trade the way that's set up here. I don't think the Dodgers need to go get someone like Sonny Gray. I think they could go for a big one like Luis Castillo. If there is a team that could get a Luis Castillo trade done, one of them would definitely be the Dodgers. So give me all your thoughts on those trades down below in the comments. But that's all I have for right now. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you next time.